Hello, everyone. We got to get a little more transition into the video. Just cuts off so.
Oh my gosh!
As Will blares it, one of our viewers tonight is Will. Man, he's on the show as well. Will, we appreciate you joining us.
I'm here live and watching.
First off, guys, we welcome you to the Crowded Booth Live. You're watching over on YouTube. We appreciate that. Grow that page. Hit the subscribe button. Jackson Gordy. So you don't have to text Ralph. You're going to get the notifications when we go live if you hit that little bell down there as well. Hey, we're over 100 subscribers, not prescribers. We're not prescribing anything. No. And as much as Ralph drinks Body Armor on this show, I would think, Will, that we could get a sponsorship.
Well, I would hope so.
I would hope so. Now so great stuff. But anyways, if you're ever watching on YouTube, we appreciate it. Facebook or Twitter as well. Give us a follow, retweet it, share it as we have some great conversation. Hey, some big news coming out of Athens. Will talked about spring football over in Auburn. Today we're going to talk a little bit of Athens. We couldn't get our good friend Palmer Toms on the show, but he did send me what he wanted us to say. So there we go. He did send me that about, and I said, hey, what do you want me to talk about? We'll get you on next week. Obviously, stuff going on. Hey, and then Sweet 16. For our bracket, we're not going to do a redo. We're going to stay true all the way for those competing. But we are going to pick our Sweet 16 here today. So we got a little bit of conversation of Georgia, have a little bit of conversation of the Sweet 16. We're going to let Will talk about Auburn baseball. He told me the other day, he said, Bryce, I've been talking about it all wrong, so I'm going to give him a chance to redeem himself about the Tigers. And then, Will, I guess we'll talk some NIL talk. I think that's what we're going to close with today. So we have an action-packed show for you. First off, guys, how's your week been? Will, I'll let you go first because, listen, you don't get to talk about your weekend. So we'll say, how's your week been so far?
Yeah, it hasn't been bad. It's been kind of a slow sports week now that we're into the Sweet 16 and the college basketball games are moved to the weekend. And we still don't have Major League Baseball. One more week until we have that. So,
guys,
I'm ready. As most people know, I don't do much during the week since I work on the weekend. So it's been pretty slow.
Ralph, for you, you're busy during the week, specifically in the mornings, but how's your week been? How's it going so far?
It's been fine. I had a really weird morning today.
We don't need to go into details.
Yeah, I'm not going into details of that.
Yeah, especially live on air.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. It's just been a normal week for me. Work, occasionally go to the gym a few times, and then, talk sports with y'all. So that's just how my week goes usually.
Yeah, I started CrossFit today, and started.
No, of course,
you
got to let everybody know about it too.
Yeah. So I'll be posting that over on my Instagram as well if you want to check me out at Bryce_Coon. But I started CrossFit today, and I think what is fantastic about it is, you go in there and you want to challenge yourself. Okay, that's what you want to do. You're challenging yourself, and they say, Bryce, okay. They say the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do handstand push-ups. Okay, handstand push-ups. And I'm like, all right, okay, let's try this. I was like, I've never done one. And the person, the instructor was like, that's fine. Like all of us were to start with building shoulder strength. So I say, I want to try one. Well, I go to try one. I get up, but when I come down, I lean over and I definitely tweaked my neck. So I had to visit the local chiropractor. We're not here to talk about chiropractors, how you feel about them, but I had to go visit the local chiropractor, and I'm feeling better. Threw some ice on there and ready for tomorrow morning. So that's kind of how everything's going. But Ralph, you are going to do, and maybe we should make it a crowded booth thing. I don't know if Will's up for it, but the Murph Challenge might be happening for 2 of the 3. It'll be happening for 2 of the 3. The crowded booth. Will, do you want to join the Murph Challenge? Do you know what that is?
I have no idea what that is.
Well, you know what that means. We're going to have to bring on very special guests from down in the heart of Georgia, Moultrie, Georgia. Trent Grinder's going to have to come on and talk about the Murph Challenge, Will's favorite guest, as we get rolling. But first off, guys, we want to thank you for watching. If you are on any of our social media platforms, go ahead and follow, hit the notifications so you can know when we go live as well. And that brings us into our question of the day. Go ahead.
Before we get into that, Austin Biley, I don't know if he's in here, but he might be disappointed because the 5 o'clock shadow that took 4 weeks to grow is gone.
So walk me through what happened with that. Was it just a life decision, or
it was time? It was time.
It was just time. It was time.
It's
time. Ralph, how long have you? When's the last time you were clean? When's the last time you were babyface, Ralph?
It's probably been over a year, actually. I don't really like. I don't like my beard gone. I look too young for.
Ralph goes for the neck beard. Ralph's a big neck beard.
Big neared guy.
A neared. Hey, watch the use of those type of words. We have to be careful with those nowadays. Anyways, we are going to be talking about a little bit of everything on sports, but obviously we started off each and every single day a question of the day. What is your favorite sports movie for your movie fanatics? This is a tough one. You could break it down for me by sport. So Ralph posed the question, and I think what we should do, let's just give a top 3 because I don't want to have to single one movie out. So Ralph, since you asked the question, that means you get to go first. Your top 3 sports movies. Hey, and if you're in the comments, let us know as well. We'll feature yours on the show.
Okay. Obviously, I think my all-time favorite is Remember the Titans. It's my second favorite movie of all time in general. So, yeah. Second, probably Rookie of the Year. It's that little kid, goes and pitch for the Cubs. One of my favorite movies of all time growing up.
Henry Rosenthal.
Yeah, Rosenthal. That was one of my favorite movies.
The hot ice. Gotta have the hot ice.
Yep. And the third, probably Mighty Ducks.
Mighty Ducks. I'll be honest with you, and those are great movies. I didn't even think of those 3. Like, I thought of Remember the Titans. Those 2 I didn't think about. Those are really great ones. Will, for you, what are you what you gonna roll with? 3 movies. What you got?
And I think I want to go a different route. I want to go the sports comedy movies just to be different. So The Benchwarmers, number 1. That is
great movie.
An all-timer. Well, that actually might be number 2. I don't know. But the second one I'm going to say is Talladega Nights, Battle of Ricky Bobby. NASCAR is a sport. Hilarious movie. And Semi-Pro. Will Ferrell's made some great comedic sports movies.
That's true.
Oh, he definitely has. He Will Ferrell in comedic sport movies is really big. I want to throw this one out here. Jackson Gordy already with a comment. We appreciate you watching, Jackson. I'm glad you knew when we went live tonight. That's always a big plus. Talladega Nights as well.
There you go.
Don't you ever put that curse on me, Ricky Bobby, in the famous
evil.
words.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
That evil on me. So yes. And we also... Jackson, we're not reading your second comment. That's okay.
Thank you.
We welcome Donna Dillon and Patsy Lane Leary watching. We appreciate you all tuning in as well. And guys, so I just want to get into the conversation of the movie because my all-time favorite movie. I'm a dry humor guy. So like my all-time favorite movie outside of sports is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Like I love that movie. It's a great movie. My favorite movies for sports, I'm in no particular order. Sandlot. I love the Sandlot. Like I grew up watching it. Yeah. No, 1. 1 is 2 and 3 are
there's a 2 and 3.
You don't even need to know that. I mean, and yeah, you don't even need to know that.
So like going home.
Yeah. You don't even need to know those. Sandlot. I'm actually going to roll with This is Bull Durham. I really like the movie Bull Durham.
That's a
with
great
Kevin
movie. Not really
Kevin
a baseball
Costner.
Movie.
No,
Not
that's the thing. So it's not really a sports movie, but I love it as well. And guys, I think I want to go. The Natural's a good movie. Ralph, you said The Rookie of the Year. The Rookie is a fantastic movie with some fantastic actors as well. But I'm going to roll with another one here, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this because have you guys, before I name my third, have you seen the new movie? My third movie is 42. I love Jackie Robinson, Chadwick Boseman. He's fantastic in that. He was fantastic in that movie. 42, obviously, too, was filmed in Georgia, was filmed over in Macon for parts of it. So that's a great movie. Have you guys seen the movie that was on Disney Plus with the Clemson player? Have you seen that one yet? It's a pretty good movie. You should check that one out. So that's a full endorsement for sports movies.
We can't move on from this conversation without talking about the masterpiece that was Moneyball. I think that is the best baseball movie of all time. Mainly because it is a true, real story. Something that actually happened.
Yeah, Jonah Hill really helped reconstruct the entire Oakland A's system. Right. I mean, that's what they need to be on.
And baseball. And baseball as a whole.
And Brad Pitt too. So it's fantastic.
Who knew there were baseball guys?
Who knew? Who knew? Trey Alexander with a quote that I want to put up here because I forgot about Major League. Unbelievable.
Movie too.
Major League Trey is a fantastic
That's another one
movie.
you ask about the sequels because they're terrible.
Yeah. Major League 2 is not very good.
No, but Major League, oh gosh, Wild
Major
Thing,
League.
little Rick Vaughn. I mean, it's great stuff. So we appreciate the comments there and some fantastic sports movies. Once again, let us know throughout the show and we'll come back to them. But guys, it brings us to a point of the show where we are going to kind of carry this throughout the next couple of weeks because spring football is in full swing. Will talked about Auburn. We're going to travel up 85 and then over to Athens, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Georgia Bulldogs who, I don't want to say it's a nightmare, but that's what the graphic is going to say is Georgia has lost George Pickens to an ACL injury. And I wanted to read this because this is coming straight from the press conference and straight from our good friend Palmer Toms with Dogs 24/7. So I want to make sure we get this clear on what actually happened. It was suffered on Tuesday in the fourth practice of spring football. It occurred on a non-contact play. It was just the ACL, no other structural damage, and is going to require surgery. The positives from this, what Palmer told us, is that it's just the ACL. Those who may be familiar with injuries, it means it could be a clean fix. There's no other type of structural damage, no other ligaments were affected, no meniscus tear, which means that, with the technology they have today, and where we've been from 20 years ago, this could have ruined a guy's career. Now, players sometimes come back stronger. And I think what the crazy part of it is, guys, is that it happened just non-contact. And so I want to open up with that conversation. Will, how many injuries have we seen just come from non-contact where 20 years ago that just wasn't a thing? I feel like we're seeing guys, they're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger. And when sometimes they cut and it gives out, it can result in really, severe injuries. Yeah,
and usually the worst injuries come from these non-contact injuries. I've never had a non-contact injury, so I don't know how really that happens. Maybe I'm not athletic enough to even have one, but it's just kind of bizarre how they happen. I mean, they look, and a lot of them look very innocent, like a guy shouldn't be hurt, but he gets up and he can't put weight on his leg. And they're very scary injuries.
Yeah, they're very scary injuries. And Ralph, we know some people that we played with in high school, and obviously George Pickens is a different caliber type of player. When you see this, how does it affect the mindset of a player? Because now you've got to be able to not only to get the surgery and trust your knee again, but mentally you've got to know when you plant, and especially a guy who in Pickens was thought to be maybe one of the top receivers returning not only in the SEC but in the country, he's got to have full confidence that when he plants that knee in a route, it's not going to give way.
Yeah, and exactly what Will was saying. You're putting weight back on that ankle and that knee. Just it changes your whole game, especially when you go for a jump ball, like a 50-50 ball, and you go up for it and you land on that knee and just you land wrong on it, it's going to make it worse. You got to be slow with your rehab. You got to be smart with it. You can't over exaggerate what rehab really is. Rehab is important when it comes to these kinds of injuries and surgery after this. He's going to have to take his time, and Georgia fans don't want to hear it. But if he's planning on the draft next year, there's no point even trying to come back next year for this season for football because it's just going to ruin his career if he re-injures it again.
That is actually a very good statement that Palmer brought up. Most think that Pickens was the guy that was going to try to, take his 3 years and move on to the next level. And we all know whether Will down at the bottom of the screen wants to admit it or not. I know Will's a big Auburn fan and Pickens spurned the Tigers, but this is a guy who has the talent and the ability to play at the next level.
This play right here is against a wide receiver, so I'm not as impressed.
I understand. You're not the most massive fan, and it's okay. But I want to dive a little bit deeper into the depth chart. So what does this mean for the Bulldogs, okay? This, to me, means that you're going to have players step up. 2-3 years ago, even last year, this was detrimental. George Pickens is by far one of the best receivers, not only in this Georgia roster, but in the SEC. And I think when you look and see what they have behind him, it makes you feel better as a group what they could do. I want to list some names because this is what Palmer said. Although you never want to lose a guy like this is from Palmer Thoms and from Kirby Smart in this week's press conference. You never want to lose a guy like this. However, our depth at wide receiver is better than has been in recent years. And I think Georgia fans would agree. They have better depth there. Jermaine Burton, Kyrus Jackson, who all played a big role last year, Arian Smith, who has burner speed, a type of downfield threat, and as well as Dominic Blaylock, who will be coming back from an ACL injury. You also can't forget about the fact that they have Demetrius Robertson, who's taking advantage of the COVID year, is going to provide some opportunities in the slot. He was featured a lot more in the offense. And I think, guys, if they can get Marcus Rosemary, Jack Saint. Now, Jack Saint is a guy, and this is from Kirby Smart, and this is from what they were talking about. And I want to throw this out here because you never want to compare, but if you had to replace a skill set too similar to Pickens of what they can do on the field, as they call him, MRJ is going to be the player that could possibly do that. Now, obviously, he had that gruesome ankle injury against Florida. But, guys, I wanted to get your takes on this because how detrimental is this to Georgia? I feel like it, from the vantage point of seeing what they have on the depth chart, they're better suited to take a blow like this. Now, it's not Alabama's wide receiver room 2 years ago by any means. But, Will, do you feel like with greater depth they could absorb this and it could be a group effort instead of just that star one guy?
I mean, I think they were kind of hoping it'd be more of a group effort anyway. You're right. There's a lot more depth there, but I don't really see a number one, quote unquote, receiver on the roster now. I mean, you're seeing a lot of guys that aren't, that big vertical threat, the guy that you can throw a 50-50 ball. And I think JT Daniels said it last year. It's not really a 50-50 ball. I can't remember the numbers he threw out there. It's more like a 90-10 ball, because George Pickens can go up and catch everything. Somebody's definitely got to step up. I think this is a major blow to Georgia's tries for a national championship this year. I think George Pickens was probably going to be the number one receiver in the country getting balls from JT Daniels. So this is huge. But if there's a time for this to happen, it's good that it's in the spring so Georgia can, recover and figure out who's going to be catching passes.
And you never want to rule out, we talked about the advance in medicine. This is happening on March the 23rd, 22nd. This is when this injury happened. Your typical ACL injuries are not going to take 12 to 16 months anymore. It's more of an 8 to 12-month territory of recovery. If Georgia does reach an SEC title game and Pickens progresses, which you don't want to get too ahead of yourself, but he progresses and performs well in rehab, there's an option he could play later in the season. But, Will, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said a full season with JT Daniels at quarterback and Todd Monken, it would have been dangerous, and he may have been the first wide receiver taken in the draft in the 2022 selection. Ralph, for you look at this depth. They have some pieces. They have guys like Jermaine Burton who saw a lot of time. A guy when, George Pickens wasn't playing so well and had some academic issues. Kyrus Jackson was a guy that stepped to the plate that I know you were impressed with his athleticism. Yeah,
and obviously you have those two guys who did really well in absence of George Pickens last year. Another one I like to talk about is Jackson Meeks, who's from Central Phoenix City, who will be with the Dogs this year. He's a talented receiver. He's got great ability to get up in the air with defenders and catch that ball and bring it down for a touchdown. And I've seen him do it many times this past year. You got to talk about your tight ends, though. I mean, you bring back one of the biggest guys in the country, Darnell Washington. I mean, I've been on him for about a year now, and I think just him and ability with JT Daniels, what they can do together, it's going to be dangerous. And I think Georgia's going to be okay with this. Obviously, you are a powerful run game. You got a lot of great running backs who can go out and catch the ball. Kyrus Jackson, a guy who can do it all. Really, he's quick with and everything. Trey Burton, another one, or Tremaine Burton. I'm sorry, Tremaine Burton. Who can speed downfield. He'll probably be your downfield threat. More than likely this year with his speed. So I think Georgia's going to be okay with depth. I mean, they're bringing in some great talent. So, I mean, it hurts to see a guy like this go down, but it also, you look back at your depth and you're going to be okay.
Todd Monken is such an innovative offensive mind.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be surprised to see Darnell Washington down and goal to go, like inside the 15-yard line in the red zone, lined up on the outside, throwing a jump ball to him. I mean,
Yeah.
That's why they did last year.
If I can see that they can do it, I guarantee you they've thought about it already.
And you talk about innovative. This opens the door even more. We've talked about how loaded Georgia's running back room is. James Cook saw a lot of time in the slot. He's a guy who could see even more time now as a receiver. And so, Will, I loved what both of you guys said. If Instagram allowed more than 1 minute videos, I would put both of them in there because, Will, you said this could hurt them. But then Ralph, on the other hand, says they've got the guys. And then you come back with saying, if they're innovative, they could make this work. Now, obviously, you never want to lose a top receiver. It's not in your plans, but I think with what Ralph said and what you said as well, if that is going to happen, you want to be prepared. And I think with the group they have there, who knows? Now you have a full spring with Daniels, and you know he's going to be the starting quarterback going into this season. And I think, too, Will, and you let me know if you agree, if they can find a way to be innovative, they could still be a dangerous offense.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, there's too much talent. There's too much talent on the field. I think they could not necessarily be innovative, and they will not struggle to put up points. They have too much depth, too much speed, too much talent. I mean, there's a reason that they're a hot pick to go all the way and win the national championship this year, prior to the injury of Pickens. But they're going to be dangerous. I mean, the East is Georgia's to lose, without a doubt.
And I think that brings up a great point. I'll throw it back over to Ralph. Do you feel like they're still the favorite without Pickens? And I think we could all agree yes, because there may be a gap, and we're going to have to see what happens down in Gainesville. But for you, Ralph, do you feel like that they're still the favorite even without Pickens at the helm?
Oh, yeah. I think they're with the amount of players they have returning this year, I still think they're one of the best teams in the country, if not the best of the SEC East with Florida, losing their quarterback. They have a lot of questions there. South Carolina going through a full rebuild. Tennessee, we can't discuss what's happening down there.
I don't know. I wouldn't rule out the balls yet. I mean, Josh Heupel, he's orchestrated some great offenses, even in the SEC at Missouri. I mean, he's the reason Drew Lock's in the NFL. I mean, it's there. They've got a guy that can make something happen with what's there.
But with the dumpster fire of the ending of the season,
no, I'm with you. I'm with you. I totally agree.
I think it's Georgia's division to lose, honestly.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
And honestly, and I'll say here, depending on how Alabama is this year, it's their conference to lose, honestly.
Wow. That's an Instagram moment right there, Ralph. You got yourself one.
That's a great point, Ralph brings up. I mean, Alabama, they're going to go back to – I think we all think they're going to go back to a more pro-style offense. They're going to be under center more with Bill O'Brien as the offensive coordinator.
And
go ahead.
I just want to say one thing. And with their offense coming back with a new quarterback, it's more of a Jalen Hurts offense now because you have a quarterback who can run who runs more. He's a lot more athletic than Tua. Way more athletic than Mac Jones. But now Mac Jones had a few good runs in his one big season he had, but Bryce Young, he can move. And I think you're going to see a lot more QB runs by their offense. Obviously, he ain't going to be running QB draw every play, but you'll see a lot of him scramble more. It's going to be a more wide open offense, I feel like. But yeah, back to what Will was saying, the pro, they're going to run the ball heavy this year, I think. Yeah.
I mean, and Bill O'Brien, Bryce Young, not to say he's Deshaun Watson or will become Deshaun Watson. Bill O'Brien's worked with a mobile quarterback.
Right.
He worked with Deshaun Watson, put up good numbers, didn't get the wins, but so, they could be more pro style. I think we'll see some more pro concepts than under Sarkisian, but they're going to be in the shotgun a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they're going to be in the shotgun, and we're actually going to talk about that next Tuesday. We're going to head over to Tuscaloosa and look at kind of what's happening over there. I know some schools are trying to battle some COVID issues, so Georgia Tech's one of them. A couple of Big 12 schools are trying to figure out how they want to do it, but Alabama is going to be one to watch kind of going forward for the foreseeable future and how that works. When we come back, guys, we are going to go to a quick commercial, and then we're going to come back, and we are going to pick the rest of the Sweet 16. I said on the video and down in the description below, not that it really matters because our first picks were so bad, but we're going to come back and we're going to talk about that when we come back as we get a word from one of our...
Cook's Place began serving our signature hot dogs in 1985 from a cart on Broadway. We still serve the best hot dogs and scrambled dogs in town at the corner of Moon and Miller Road and at the landings. Our friendly staff won't let you leave hungry. Come in and eat to the beat with our 50s jukebox. Cook's Place, fast service, great people, awesome food. What are you waiting for?
Bryce, you muted.
Okay, guys. Oh yes. No. I'm not. I'm good.
You
Just wanted to let you know we are. I wanted to make this comment because I just got actually a text and a picture that came through. We want to say and have prayers out to everyone who's involved in the storm that's kind of ravaged through Alabama already and is actually over there. Got a text from a good friend that lives in Birmingham. The house right behind him was completely torn to the ground. So he was actually trying to tune into the show and couldn't because of obviously internet connection. And guys, it's rough too because this is back-to-back weeks or consecutive weeks or 2 out of the last 3 that they've really been hit hard from bad weather. So I want to roll. I want to roll into this, and hopefully, I say all that to say, let's hope the internet connection stays here in the Columbus area for myself, and let's hope that Nomad can come through for us while we do this. We are going to talk about some Sweet 16 picks. We're using the ESPN bracket, and guys, I want to roll. Should we feel confident about anything here, or how do you feel about Gonzaga versus Creighton over in the West?
It's going to be Gonzaga, no doubt about it. I've said it every time. Talented. They're too good. They're too good.
They're too good. Ralph, how do you feel?
I'm behind Gonzaga, but I'm on ESPN right now also, and I'm looking at the people's bracket. There's 12% of people picking for Creighton, which I'm just shocked by.
Creighton's gotten hot. I talked about them coming into the tournament. They kind of backed their way into it after that poor, pitiful performance against Georgetown in the Big East Championship. But they've done well the first 2 rounds.
But they also have USC only an 11% chance against Gonzaga. So I just don't understand. You think USC is not as good as Creighton? It's just it's one of those things. I'm guessing a lot of Creighton fans are on this app, picking them. But
it's okay.
I think Gonzaga's got it.
All right, we're going to roll down to USC Oregon, a battle of 2 Pac-12 teams. This is a preview of Bill Walton's Final Four. Guys, who both? So it doesn't matter what we pick. Yeah, so it really doesn't matter who we pick because Bill Walton has both of them going to the Final Four. But, guys, the Trojans are playing about as well as you can be right now. And I really like USC in this spot, but Oregon is also playing very well. And, I talked with a coach today who said, when you get to the Sweet 16, anything can happen. That's the goal. If you can get to the Sweet 16, a lot of different things can happen. A bounce here, a break there, and you could find yourself in the Final Four. So we'll lead off with you real quick. USC or Oregon, who you rolling with in the Sweet 16 matchup?
I'm going with USC. I think they're hotter. I've really been impressed by them. I thought they would struggle, but they haven't ran into an opponent that could slow down their number one guy, Evan Mobley. And they've seen Oregon a few times and handled them pretty well this year already. So I'm going to stick with USC.
Sticking with USC. Ralph, are you going to make maybe the tiebreaker, or are you jumping on the Trojan bandwagon?
I'm behind USC. I think they handled, like Will said, they handled Oregon very well beginning of the year to be my 14. I think they've really done well this year. Oregon's gotten hot. They've surprised some people, but I really think USC's got a strong chance to win this game.
USC is definitely a team that has been playing well, so that would put Gonzaga versus USC in the Elite Eight. We'll come on down to the eastern part of the bracket as Michigan and Florida State. And I think, guys, this is actually one of the matchups that we predicted. We felt like Michigan and Florida State would be here, and that's a good thing because it's chalk, 1 and 4 playing each other right here. But, Ralph, I'll start you off. The Wolverines, who have been dominant at times this season, or do the Noles, who feel like they're on a vengeance tour after not winning the ACC Tournament Championship, could they move on?
No, I have Michigan. I think Michigan is just too dominant, like you said. They've been great all year. They haven't really shown weakness in the tournament so far. I think they're one of the best teams in the country. That's why they're a 1 seed for one. And I just think they'll move pretty well against Florida State.
Yeah, they have some good movement, good off-ball movement that could come into play. Will, for you, do the Noles have a shot in this game? You feel like they could upset a Michigan team that is one of the few Big Ten teams left in it? We apologize, Ralph. Official apology I think we got on the show on Tuesday. We'll say it again. But, Will, for you, how you rolling on this one?
Man, I got a weird feeling tonight. I think I've lost all faith in the Big Ten. Going Florida State, they have just been murderers row in the tournament. I mean, they blew out my Colorado Buffaloes, just blew them out, embarrassed them, ran them off the floor. love what you said that they're kind of on revenge tour after losing the ACC championship game. I'm going with the Noles.
I'm going to go follow that up. I like what they've done, and there's been a lot of drama so far in this tournament, and you haven't seen that out of the Noles. You know what I mean? They've just done their job. Whoever's been across the court, the first two matchups, they've taken care of business. I'm going to roll with the Noles on this one. So we're saying Florida State advances over Michigan, and then the Darlings. The fighting Chip Kellys. Are they going to take down the Crimson Tide? Yeah, I know Chip Kelly. Yeah, I know it's basketball. It's fine. But the Bruins, the fighting Chip Kellys, are they going to take down the Alabama Crimson Tide in this one, or the Crimson Tide stay hot from three and playing some great defense and advance to the Elite Eight?
Keep it short and sweet. No. Alabama.
No, you got Alabama. Can you show me the shirt you're wearing as you say that? He's standing with the Dixie State. Ralph, are you going to be singing Sweet Home Alabama this weekend as Alabama advances to the Elite Eight? How are you feeling?
I'm not going to be singing anything, but I do have Alabama winning this game. I think if they catch fire early on, it's hard to beat them. If
you're in the comments, please let us know what it would be like to hear Ralph sing. We may have to get him on the show doing that as a pre-recorded video. So far, our Elite Eight matchups are Gonzaga versus USC, Florida State versus Alabama. We're going to head over to the South, where it is the Villanova out of the Big East and
Wildcats.
I'm sorry, the Wildcats. Yes, I love how Will's been on shows long enough that if I don't know, I'm going to change course real quick. The Villanova Wildcats and the Baylor Bears. Ralph, should we even ask you, or you just want me to move down to Will?
I have Baylor, so I mean.
Well, I know you think Baylor's the best team, since I don't know, since 1973. Will, could you enlighten me maybe why Villanova will win this game, or is it just clear cut and dry?
No, clear cut and dry is Baylor.
Yep, and I'll let you know, if you are watching us for betting picks, don't listen to anything we're saying, because nothing is clear cut and dry when it comes to our picks in the tournament so far. The I need to stop saying Oral Roberts versus Arkansas. Now, I'll say this. There is one bracket in our bracket challenge, and it is my dad, who has Arkansas playing Alabama in the national championship. Still very much in play.
That just shocks me.
Is this where Oral Roberts' Cinderella dream ends and Arkansas takes care of business? Will says yes. Ralph, you taking the Razorbacks?
Yeah, I think Moses Moody and Justin Smith have been too dominant this tournament, especially Justin Smith, who's really shown up lately for the Razorbacks.
I think the week off really hurts the Cinderella.
I agree.
Give Arkansas a week to collect their thoughts and get ready for them and be focused. I think the first two matchups, Oral Roberts was overlooked, and they took advantage of that. And I don't think Arkansas is going to overlook them.
I think you're right. Everyone knows everything about Oral Roberts. Now, you may have not had some things. Now you have a full weekend of tape and seeing what they do against some of the better teams in the country. And I think, guys, too, with what Arkansas and Ralph, you pointed out Moses Moody, who he's playing himself higher up on the draft boards with the way. He had a great regular season, but with what he's doing in this tournament, we may have to have an NBA draft show. The last one we filmed at Will's house, and it was one of our watched videos. Definitely interesting. It reminded me, honestly, guys, of a Barstool Sports video of us just sitting there and people just coming in and out at all times.
Bryce had to leave, actually. Bryce left in the
I left and went and got Chick-fil-A and came
bizarre.
back. Yeah, exactly. So Baylor and Arkansas are going to be playing in the Elite Eight out of the South. And here we go, folks. The Loyola Chicago Ramblers against the Oregon State Beavers. Does Oregon State's run end, or does Loyola Chicago continue the miracle under Sister Jean? Will?
Yeah, I'm going Loyola Chicago. It's been asked 1,000 times, and I'll ask it again. Why are they an 8 seed? Why are they an 8 seed? They're too good to be an 8 seed. They're gonna roll right through Oregon State, who's not a good basketball team that has somehow won their first two matchups and won the Pac-12 tournament.
Oregon State's in the midst of about an 8-game stretch where they're playing out of their minds. That's what I'll say about them. The Ramblers are one of the most well-coached, well-disciplined teams in the country, and I think that goes overlooked because they don't play in a high-profile conference. Ralph, for you, Ramblers, the Beavers?
I got Loyola Chicago. I think, like you said, they're too well-coached, too well played together. I think they work very well. They have a great big man down there who can just dominate the boards and everything, and I don't think Oregon State is even matched against them.
Probably the most unheralded 2 seed that we haven't had a ton of drama and conversation with, much like we talked about Florida State. the Houston Cougars are taking on Syracuse in the Fighting Bayheims. We can actually say that because they got two of them. Guys, now, Will, I want to point this out because you made this comment, so I want to see if you're going to stick true to what you were saying. Syracuse has playing hot. Does the week off, does it hurt them here? Or are they able to continue their hot stretch and beat Houston here?
Yeah, I think it hurts them. I'm going with the Cougars. Houston's really good. They're really good. I think they deserve to be a 1 seed, and especially after we've seen how the tournament has unfolded. They probably should be a 1 seed. Folks like me and you, Bryce, were way too high on the Big Ten, and Ralph was spot on about the Big Ten not being very good. But Houston is a really, really good team. I watched them play a few times in the regular season. They play so well. They play as a team, which is hard to beat, especially in March Madness.
Speaking of Big Ten, I'll say it again on the show tonight because there's one team that's not playing this weekend, and I couldn't be happier, and that's the Iowa Hawkeyes. Ralph, for you, when you look at this game, I know you love Buddy Boeheim, and I know you love what this team's doing, but could they beat a Houston team? Listen, the guys that played in an American Conference has some good talent in that conference, but I feel like all year they were just, oh, yeah, Houston's actually they're playing really well this year, and then they just kind of snuck up. They've taken care of business, but does Syracuse have enough firepower to pull off the upset?
Yes, I actually have Syracuse win this upset. I think.
So now I've got to make the deciding factor.
Dude, I think Buddy Boeheim just if he gets rolling, it's fun to watch. I mean, I watched him play against West Virginia, who was a great team, a great coach team, and they just could not stop the Syracuse. They're just too good, and I think they're too low of a seed. Honestly, I think it should be a higher seed in the first place, but they're great.
Ralph went a little robotic there for a second. I don't know if anyone else heard that. That's completely okay. It's fine. No big deal. At least it's not my internet. Syracuse against Houston. Gosh, you guys put me in a tough situation here because, Will, you said Houston, they're so well coached. They've been under the radar with how good they are this year. They still got a 2 seed. They've taken care of business. I love the no drama. But on the other hand, you got the orange, which we're not even sure really what the mascot is. Otto, I think is their mascot name.
It's literally an orange.
It's literally an orange. It's not the color. It's literally orange. The Fighting Tim the Tatmans are going to try to win this one. And Will, he's a big Syracuse fan.
No, I feel like most of our viewers are not going to get that joke.
That's okay. Maybe that's fine. We don't do it for the viewers. We do it for the I'm just messing with you. No, I think it's fun. I'm going to roll with Houston and say that Buddy Boeheim's run comes to an end, but listen, it's been a great story. I'm going to take Houston this one. Hopefully I'm wrong, though. It's been really cool, like Ralph said, to see what they've been able to
He's
do.
worse than Luka Garza to me. How Bryce feels about Luka Garza, I feel about Buddy Boeheim.
Nah, I just
I don't want to get into the conversation. He's only playing at Syracuse because his dad's the coach.
But he's also talented. If it was like my dad was the coach
better than me.
If I was Coach K's son, I'm not playing at Duke.
I can be better than a broken arm and be better than you in basketball, Will.
Yeah, Ralph, you're also 6'3".
It's fine.
That's a bold statement.
It's a bold statement, but it's a true statement.
All right, real quick, let's go into the Elite Eight here because this is something that's going to be very interesting to watch. Gonzaga versus USC, guys. We'll go quickly through this as we move through it. Does Gonzaga move to the Final Four?
Yes.
All right, there we go. Cut and dry. The Noles versus Alabama. It's a good thing that James Blackman's not playing in this game because he had a nasty time when he played against Alabama last time in Atlanta. Good thing this one's on the court. Will's just shaking his head because every single time I bring up these two schools, I'm like talking about football and all that good stuff. But Florida State or Alabama in this one?
I can't do it. Florida State.
Oh,
Florida State.
Wow.
I can't do it.
Ralph,
I can't do it.
As much as you want to see an Alabama-Gonzaga matchup to see the overall with one of the best teams in the country and a team that has had one of the craziest offensive and put together a really well-balanced season, who are you rolling with?
I'm running with Alabama.
Gosh. All right, I'm taking the Crimson Tide. I went with Will last time. I got to go with Ralph this time.
Here's the thing.
You also picked Alabama to win the national championship, Bryce.
Look.
Should we bring the clip? You want me to play the fight song again? Okay.
Nope.
Hey, look. I have Michigan winning the first place, beating Florida State, so I have Alabama and Michigan playing, and then Michigan advancing. But I don't think Florida State can stop Alabama.
Gotcha. I think the only people that can stop Alabama is themselves. I really believe that. We'll see if that holds true in the Final Four. Moving over to the other side of the bracket, Baylor and Arkansas, an old-time Big West matchup is now reunited. Guys, how you feel about this one?
Gosh, the Southwest Conference.
Southwest Conference.
Bryce.
I'm sorry. I was looking at something else. Go ahead. Will, who you rolling with?
I'm going Baylor. Arkansas has been really good,
Baylor.
but Baylor's just better.
I agree.
Baylor's just better. Yeah, we're going to roll with the Bears. I'm going to pick Arkansas, but I'm going to put Bears. Loyola Chicago and Houston. Well, can your Ramblers, your Fighting Sister Jeans, can they I like that's the best one we've had, the Fighting Sister Jeans. Can they make a Final Four appearance? Why not, Will?
I'm going Loyola Chicago. I don't know why.
I love
I'm going Loyola Chicago. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid that Sister Jean has at Bible study. I'm all about it.
I hope it's
all about it.
Ralph, who you rolling with?
Man, as much as it pains me, I had Syracuse in this matchup in the first place. I mean, I'd rather see, the underdog win this game. So I'm going to go Loyola Chicago. Will.
Well, I'm glad because I had already selected Loyola Chicago. That was my pick to move on to the next round. The Final Four, which is going to be in Indianapolis, obviously, as the whole tournament has been, Gonzaga versus Alabama. The Crimson Tide, who have had a storybook type of season, playing against the team that has arguably been one of the most dominant in recent history. Will, I know how you're going to go on this one. I know you can't take the Crimson Tide, but there any? How do you feel about this?
I think Gonzaga is too good. I mean, you said you think there's only one team that can stop Alabama. It's Alabama. I disagree. I think Gonzaga can stop them. I think the good thing about Gonzaga is they've been tested. Their last game was a bit of a test, but they handled it really well. And Alabama would definitely be a test for them, but I think Gonzaga is the better team.
Ralph, who you rolling with? I'm
rolling with the Zags, baby. I think Drew Timme is one of my favorite players in college basketball, and I love how he plays. So I think they're one of the best. I think they're the second best team in the country.
Yeah, and I also think he's probably one of the least attractive players in the league, in the whole country as well. But that's a conversation for another day with a different podcast. Baylor and Loyola Chicago, Ramblers against the Bears. Will, can you push the Ramblers through again, or is Baylor just too strong?
No, Baylor is too strong. Baylor's too strong.
So I ask all this to say, what in the world was the point of playing this entire tournament? We knew these two teams coming in were dominant, and I guarantee you, what's the whole point of playing the tournament for us? I just want to get your national champion, guys. Gonzaga, Baylor. Ralph, I know you're taking Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking Baylor as well.
Gotcha.
Really love the Bears. And the Bears also have former Auburn Tiger Davion Mitchell, he was great at Auburn, decided to transfer out of Auburn, broke everybody at Auburn's heart, including mine. But it proves to be a great decision because he probably is going to win a national championship this year. And he's been even better since he left Auburn. So congratulations to him.
In my bracket I had Gonzaga winning it all. I will not stick to that. I will say that a third member, and I think it's going to be Alabama. I got to roll with them. I picked them 4 weeks ago. I got to stand by. You can't post a video like that out on social media and not stand behind it. At least I got to stand behind it. And I think our friend Drew Haywood, he says, bro, Bama is hot right now. They are going to win it all. Drew, I think they have hot. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to see what they're doing. Guys, I want to end the show, and I want to talk about this. I think it's warranted to talk about kind of some final thoughts. I want to ask you guys questions and I think it parlays beautifully into basketball, college football as well. What are your guys' thoughts? And we've talked a little about this, about the potential roster crunches that are going to happen on college basketball rosters. Will, you've talked to me a little bit about Auburn, but with players electing to stay, it's making a tough situation. Talk with Josh Pastner-Day and Georgia Tech. They've got an intriguing situation. If those guys stay, they could be a top-tier ACC program again and a top 20 program in the country. If they leave, but the thing is there's no date set by the NBA yet for any of this, so the kids can wait as long as they can. Meanwhile, there are some studs out in the transfer portal, but their questions are, is that kid staying or not? Because if he stays, then why would I come there? Will, how do you see this working out? And maybe specifically, you can tailor it towards Auburn.
Well, yeah, I know for Auburn specifically and Sharif Cooper specifically, they're having to act as if he's not coming back. That's why they've already jumped on Zep Jasper, point guard transferring from College of Charleston. And they're expecting him to be the starting point guard next year. If Sharif Cooper comes back, I think it's great. I think Zep Jasper could handle some play at the 2. But who knows? But he's expected to play point guard. And then the other one, the kid from North Carolina, I'm going to mess his name up. So, Bryce, what's his name?
Walker Kessler.
Walker Kessler, leaving North Carolina, was very close to coming to Auburn out of high school. And it looks like it's between Georgia and Auburn for his transfer destinations. He's a Georgia legacy. But Auburn, I think, really wants him. I think they're gonna push him hard to come to Auburn. And that's going to leave a huge roster crunch for Auburn. I mean, you're going to see other guys leave the program. Auburn already had backup shooting guard Jamal Johnson transfer. He announced this week he's going to UAB. So Auburn's already – and he played very well for Auburn. Averaged 9 points a game coming off the bench. Was very productive for Auburn. But I think he's going to have a huge role at UAB and really flourish down there. Alan Flanagan's another guy for Auburn that could leave and come back. He'll probably play shooting guard next year. But, there's just so much in the air, like you said, about the NBA not having a date set for when is like the last day a player can say they're going to the draft. So, I would assume that all teams are going to view it like Auburn is, where they're just going to recruit kids as if the players are not coming back next year. I think, in my opinion, that's the only way to handle that, because you can only play with who's here, and you can't sit on your hands waiting on somebody to come back, because then you're going to be left shorthanded.
Yeah, and I think that brings up an interesting conversation. Josh Pastner said today, he said, if we have a guard we want to bring in, but Jose Alvarado tells me he wants to come back, then I'm saying, man, I got to let Jose come back. You can't say no to a guy who's a defensive player of the year. But I think also, Ralph, and I want to throw this to you, it brings in team chemistry. How in the world can you make this? And Pastner said this today, and I know other coaches are facing this, Bruce Pearl, especially as he's built this Auburn program up. But, Ralph, college basketball coaches and college coaches in general are much more than just coaches. They're general managers, from brand awareness to roster management. How could this potential roster crunch that's going to be happening on a lot of campuses come into the fall, into working into college basketball season once again? How could that affect team chemistry?
I mean, yeah, that's one of the main things about basketball. I think that's why Auburn was so good in the past few years, because they had the guys that have been playing with each other for so long. And you bring in someone like, if Alvarado, if he stays at Georgia Tech, you obviously want to bring him back because he's a leader. He's your first guy to be out there. He's gonna be your captain probably next year. You're gonna be leading your team all year long. You bring in a freshman that no one really knows yet, and he could be way more talented than Alvarado or another person who leads your team, but you don't know that because you haven't seen him on the court in a real game yet. And you never will till you see that. But you want to go with your best option. I think your best option is when that guy comes back. And what he's done in the past, obviously, you look at this past year for teams that made this runs into the tournament, or at least made the tournament, and had a good chance to make the tournament. You want to keep those teams together because those are your best chance to do well the next season.
You want to have that best chance to do well, and I think too, Ralph, you want to make sure you have the best product on the court, but not only on the court, off the court and in the locker room as well. We're going to have a final thoughts part 2. Having some trouble talking today. NBA trade deadline was here. Obviously, our hometown Atlanta Hawks brought in Sweet Lou. He's coming back to Atlanta. Rondo heads out west. And I'll say this. I know Will could care less what goes on inside State Farm Arena. But actually, this is not a bad deal. From my understanding, Lou Williams is on an expiring deal. Now the Clippers, who could afford it, are on the hook for not only Rondo's money this year, but the $7.5 million he was owed next year. So not a bad deal, and you get a veteran guard who can play off ball, and Lou Williams, and can provide some veteran mentorship. And the guy can still play. I mean, let's just be honest. He had some of the best handles and some of the best shot selection that we've seen in the NBA over the past 10 years. A guy doesn't stay that long in the NBA without having some talent and bringing something to a locker room. The big deal that fell through. Obviously, Orlando, they gutted their roster down there. But I want to say this. With Oladipo in the mix, and we broke the news on this show when he was headed to Houston, for those who don't remember, Miami, could they return to the finals? Is it signed, sealed, delivered with Jimmy Butler, who is one of the fiercest competitors in the whole league? Could they return to the finals? Are they the favorites in the East? Will?
I don't think so. I think they've struggled a lot out of the gate. They're hovering around 500. And Oladipo, to get them over the hump is kind of weird because he and Jimmy Butler are kind of the same player. I mean, they've had injury at point guard. I know Goran Dragic has kind of been in and out. I think they needed, a better primary ball handler to get there. And they gave up Kelly Olynyk, which he's a really good reserve big man, especially after their debacle with that was Myers Leonard, right?
Yeah.
Him making those comments on Twitch. I would not have traded a big after that mess and that fallout, whatever that was going to be. I think it's a good trade for Miami, but I don't think it puts them as the favorites in the East, especially with the Nets. I mean, the Nets are crazy, and they're like hardly even playing. Like their big three just decides whenever they want to play, and they're still beating up on everybody. So no, I mean, I think it'll help Miami. It'll help their playoff positioning, but I don't think it'll help them get deeper in the playoffs.
And if you look at the Eastern Conference standings, it's pretty top heavy. 1 through 3. Philadelphia is 31-13. Milwaukee is a game and a half behind them at 29-14. The Nets are in the 3rd seed right now at 30-15. Okay, they're also game and a half. The next closest team is 7 games out, and that's Charlotte. So I think there's a clear distinction in those top 3 teams, and Charlotte's going to fall as well. And Charlotte's going to fall as well because they just lost LaMelo Ball. So I think it's interesting to see. They did. They still got some good players. You got to give them credit. They still got some good players.
The East is strange right now. You got teams that have been in the cellar the last few years, like the Hawks and the Hornets, and now they're in the top half of the
Knicks. Don't forget the Knicks. Knicks are in 6 right now.
And the Knicks.
It's weird.
But,
and I think, too, what's crazy about it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Will.
I was going to say, even though, like you said, the Nets are 3rd in the East, I think that they're still the favorites to win the East. Like the 76ers, I don't think they got a ton better today. They traded for George Hill.
Yeah.
George Hill doesn't excite me. With Kyle Lowry out there on the block and nobody could make a deal for him, I know he's owed a lot of money. And he's 34 years old. I'm just shocked nobody could deal for him. It surprised me too.
I did not realize he's that old. Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to see how the NBA is transcended, but we'll have to see who comes out on top in the Eastern Conference. We thank you all for watching.
My bad.
Oh, 35. No, and I think that speaks to me because remember he had a stint with the Rockets before he was with Toronto.
Yeah.
And people don't remember that. So I think it's interesting to see. But we appreciate everyone for watching, and we appreciate everyone tuning in. Like we said, once again, we wish everyone safe, travels as they and just be safe during the storm. I know it's kind of ravaged the Birmingham, Alabama area and coming through from Mississippi to Alabama, and expected to maybe get a little bit of it in across the Chattahoochee over here in Georgia as well. So we appreciate everyone watching. Stay tuned as we have a great podcast coming out on Sundays. We get a little feel of Atlanta area sports and some things going on up there as it's a busy time. Hawks, Georgia Tech doing spring football. Don't forget about Kennesaw State, who's one of the top FCS programs. They're doing some good things up there. And I can't forget the Georgia State Panthers as well. You got to give them some love as well in the Sun Belt, Ralph. So you can't forget about those guys. Once again, Mailbag Monday. If you send those questions in, we are going to let Will answer the question on Monday. I thought I was going to let him ask him tonight. We're going to let him answer the question on Monday about Auburn baseball. It may be a little dated. And so, Will, you can say this is actually what has happened so far, and then we'll talk about that. But we appreciate everyone tuning in. Make sure, Mailbag Monday, send your questions in to atthecrowdedbooth@gmail.com. We thank you as well as, watching and viewing as well. I know I can speak for all of us in saying it's a ton of fun to do this day in and day out and bring some great content to the table. So please stay tuned for more updates. You can sign up, like we said below, at thecrowdedbooth.com and follow us on all social media, and specifically you. Yes, you, Jackson Gordy, hit the subscribe and notifications button so you know when we go live. Everyone, thanks for watching and have a fantastic night.